I saw the email marked termination, and my world collapsed. 3 days. That's all it took. 3 days away from my father's funeral, and I was suddenly disposable. How could they? Could you ever forgive such a betrayal? The fluorescent lights of the office seemed to hum with a malevolent glee as I stared at the words on my company-issued laptop. Effective immediately. I'd barely settled back into my ergonomic chair, the faint scent of lilies still clinging to my clothes. A ghostly reminder of the service. My boss, Mr. Harrison, a man whose smile never quite reached his eyes, had approved my bereavement leave without a flicker of hesitation. He'd even mumbled something about understanding family. Liar. I remember the day I asked. It feels like a lifetime ago, though it was just a week. Mr. Harrison, I'd said, standing stiffly in his doorway, the words catching in my throat. My father. He passed away. I need to take some time off for the funeral. He'd swiveled in his chair, his face a mask of practiced sympathy. Emma, I'm so sorry to hear that. Of course, take all the time you need. Family comes first. He'd even patted my arm, a gesture that now felt like a brand. Just fill out the leave request, and we'll get it sorted. Now, the request, duly signed and approved, was a cruel joke. I scrolled through the termination email, searching for a reason, an explanation, anything. Company restructuring, it read. Your position has been eliminated. Right. Restructuring 3 days after I buried my father. I didn't buy it for a second. The air in my cubicle felt thick, suffocating. Around me, the drone of keyboards and the murmur of conversations continued as if nothing had happened. Were they talking about me? Did they know? I felt a flush of shame creep up my neck. I packed my meager belongings, a framed photo of my dad, a ceramic mug shaped like a cat, a few pens, into a cardboard box. It felt pathetic, like a walk of shame. As I reached the parking lot, my phone buzzed. It was my mother. How was your first day back, sweetie? The question hit me like a physical blow. How could I tell her? She was still fragile, barely holding it together after the funeral. Adding this felt unbearable. It was fine, Mom, I managed to say, my voice trembling. Just catching up on things. Good, good. Your father would have wanted you to get back to normal, she said, her voice thick with unshed tears. I hung up, the weight of my lie pressing down on me. I couldn't tell her, not yet. I needed to figure out what was going on, why this had happened. Was it just bad luck, or was there something more sinister at play? What would you do in my place? That evening, I started digging. I spent hours scouring company message boards, searching for clues, anything that could explain my sudden dismissal. I found nothing. It was as if I'd been erased. Then I remembered Sarah, a friend from accounting. She wasn't afraid to speak her mind, and she knew everything that went on in the company. I messaged her on that encrypted app everyone uses now. Too many data breaches had made regular texting feel unsafe. Hey Sarah, got a minute? I typed, my fingers flying across the keyboard. She replied almost immediately. Hey Emma! Welcome back. What's up? I hesitated. Actually, I need your help. I was fired today. There was a pause, then, What? Seriously? That's insane. What happened? I explained the situation, the approved leave, the sudden termination, the flimsy excuse. That's total BS, she replied. Something's definitely up. I'll see what I can find out, but no promises. Harrison's been acting weird lately, all secretive and jumpy. Hope flickered in my chest. Sarah was my only lead. Meet me at the Daily Grind at noon. Got something you need to see. The Daily Grind was a cafe near the office, all free Wi-Fi and glass walls. My stomach churned with anticipation. What had Sarah discovered? She was already there when I arrived, hunched over a table, her face pale. Emma, you're not going to believe this, she said, pushing a tablet towards me. On the screen was a document, a legal filing. My father's name was prominently displayed. He was being sued by my company. "What is this?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "Your dad was involved in a lawsuit with the company years ago," Sarah explained. "It was about some kind of patent dispute. It looks like they reopened the case." My mind raced. My father, a quiet, unassuming architect, suing a multi-billion-dollar corporation? It didn't make sense. He'd never mentioned anything. "But why would they fire me?" I asked. Sarah shrugged. "Maybe they thought you'd be biased, or maybe they just wanted to put pressure on you to drop the case." A wave of anger washed over me. They were using my father's death to their advantage, leveraging my grief to win a legal battle. How low could they go? "This is unbelievable," I said, my voice rising. "I'm going to fight this." "Be careful, Emma," Sarah warned. "They're powerful. They have a lot to lose." I knew she was right, but I couldn't back down. My father's legacy, his reputation, were on the line. I owed it to him to fight. But how? I was just one person, facing a corporate giant. Could I really win? That night, I stayed up late researching the lawsuit. The details were complicated, filled with legal jargon and technical terms I barely understood. But one thing was clear. The company claimed my father had stolen a crucial design element for a new type of sustainable housing. I didn't believe it. My father was an honest, ethical man. He would never steal from anyone. But how could I prove it? Then I remembered his old office. It was a mess, overflowing with blueprints, sketches, and models. He'd always said he'd organize it someday, but that day never came. Maybe, just maybe, there was something there that could help me. My mother was out visiting relatives, so I had the house to myself. Stepping into my father's office felt like stepping back in time. The air was thick with the scent of old paper and dust. I started going through the files, one by one. Blueprints, contracts, letters, invoices. The sheer volume of paperwork was overwhelming. Hours passed, but I found nothing relevant to the lawsuit. Discouragement began to creep in. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed a small wooden box tucked away in the back of a drawer. It was locked. My heart pounded in my chest. Could this be it? I rummaged through the drawer until I found a small key. With trembling hands, I inserted it into the lock and turned. The box opened. Inside, there was a single item, a small silver flash drive. My father was never tech-savvy. What was this doing here? Back at my apartment, I plugged the flash drive into my computer. It was password protected. Damn it. I tried a few obvious passwords, my father's birthday, my mother's name, his favorite city, but none of them worked. Frustration mounted. Then I remembered something he used to say. The answer is always in the details. I looked at the flash drive again, examining it closely. There was a tiny inscription on the side. AL to JB. AL to JB initials. My father's full name was James Bernard. AL, could that be someone else's initials? I racked my brain, trying to think of someone with those initials who was connected to my father. And then it hit me. Amelia Lawson. She was an old family friend, a brilliant engineer who had worked with my father on several projects. I typed Amelia Lawson into the password field. The flash drive unlocked. Inside, there were several files, including a folder labeled Project Nightingale. I opened it. The files were all dated several years before the lawsuit was filed. As I scrolled through the documents, my eyes widened in disbelief. They were detailed plans for a sustainable housing project, the same project the company claimed my father had stolen. But these plans were dated years before the company even started working on their version. My father hadn't stolen anything. The company had stolen from him. I had proof. But what should I do with it? Expose the company and risk a lengthy, expensive legal battle? Or try to negotiate a settlement? And what about my job? Did I even want to work for a company that had treated me so badly? She was surprised to hear from me, but she agreed to meet for coffee. I showed her the files from the flash drive. her eyes filled with tears. James was a genius, she said, her voice trembling. They tried to bury him, but he was always too good for them. She agreed to testify on my father's behalf. With Amelia's support and the evidence from the flash drive, I felt like I contacted a lawyer, a sharp, no-nonsense woman named Ms. Evans. She reviewed the evidence and agreed to take my case. This is a clear case of corporate malfeasance, she said. We'll sue them for wrongful termination, defamation, and copyright infringement. The lawsuit was filed, and the media frenzy began. The company's stock price plummeted. Mr. Harrison called me, begging me to drop the case. Emma, please, he said, his voice laced with desperation. This is going to ruin us all. You should have thought about that before you fired me, I replied, and hung up. The company offered a settlement, a substantial sum of money, and a public apology. I accepted. It wasn't about the money. It was about justice for my father. It was about clearing his name. But the money did allow me to start my own business, a small architecture firm specializing in sustainable housing, a tribute to my father's legacy. One evening, a message popped up on my secure messaging app. I know what really happened to your father. It was an anonymous user. What was going on? I traced the message. It came from within the company's secure server. Someone was trying to tell me something. The message contained a link to a hidden file. I clicked on it, my heart pounding. It was a confession from a former executive. He admitted that the company had deliberately sabotaged my father's career because he refused to sell them his designs for a pittance. They had even spread rumors about him, damaging his reputation. The executive was now terminally ill and wanted to clear his conscience. I was stunned. The betrayal went deeper than I could have imagined. They had not only stolen my father's work, but also destroyed his life. Now I had a choice to make. I could use this information to destroy the company completely, ruin their reputation beyond repair, or I could let it go, focus on building my own success, and honor my father's memory through my work. Revenge or redemption? It was a difficult choice. I decided to do neither. I forwarded the confession to the authorities, letting the legal system take its course. I didn't want to be consumed by vengeance. I wanted to build something positive, something that would make my father proud. I focused on my new company, hiring talented architects and designers who shared my passion for sustainability. We started winning awards, gaining recognition for our innovative designs. One day, I received an invitation to a prestigious architecture conference. The keynote speaker was none other than the CEO of the company that had wronged my father. My first instinct was to decline the invitation, but then I realized that this was an opportunity to show them that I had risen above their petty schemes, an opportunity to honor my father's legacy on a grand stage. I accepted the invitation. At the conference, I delivered a powerful speech about the importance of ethics in architecture, about honoring creativity and innovation. I didn't mention the company by name, but everyone knew who I was talking about. The CEO was sitting in the front row, his face red with embarrassment. After my speech, he approached me. "Emma," he said, his voice subdued. "I want to apologize for what happened to your father. It was wrong." I looked him in the eye. "I accept your apology," I said, "but it doesn't change the past. It's up to you to make amends." I walked away, leaving him standing there, a symbol of a company forever tainted by its past. My father is gone, but his spirit lives on in my work, in my commitment to ethical design. I chose to rise above the betrayal, to forgive but not forget. Sometimes the greatest revenge is success, and sometimes the most powerful act is forgiveness. What would you have chosen? Could you have walked away from revenge? Now, it's your turn. What would you do in a similar situation? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more true crime-inspired tales. What choice would you make? Write what you choose. The quiet hum of the projector filled the auditorium as I watched the news report unfold. It showed the CEO, looking gaunt and defeated, announcing his resignation. He cited personal reasons, but everyone knew the real reason. The weight of his past actions, the shadow of my father's stolen legacy, I felt a pang of something, not satisfaction exactly, more like closure. It was over. That night I received another message from the anonymous source. "They're not finished with you yet." I frowned. What did that mean? Hadn't I already won? I typed back. "What are you talking about?" No response. The silence was unnerving. A chill ran down my spine, despite the warmth of my apartment. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was still being watched, still being targeted. I decided to increase my cybersecurity. I downloaded a new VPN, updated my firewall, and changed all my passwords. I even invested in a device that scrambled my internet traffic, making it harder to track my online activity. Paranoid? Maybe, but I couldn't afford to take any chances. A few days later, I received a package in the mail. It was a small, unmarked box. My heart pounded in my chest as I opened it. Inside, there was a single object. A USB drive. Not again. Was this another secret file? Another confession? I hesitated. Should I even plug it in? What if it contained a virus, a trap? But curiosity, that insatiable human instinct, got the better of me. I connected the USB drive to an old laptop, one I kept offline for situations like this. The drive contained a single video file. I clicked play. The video showed my mother. She was sitting in a chair, looking distraught. Behind her, I could see two men in dark suits. They were holding her hostage. "Emma," she said, her voice trembling. "They said if you don't drop the lawsuit, they'll—" Her voice broke off, choked with tears. The men in suits glared at the camera. "You have 24 hours, one of them said, his voice cold and menacing. The video ended. My blood ran cold. They had taken my mother. What would you do? I immediately called the police, but they were skeptical. "We need more evidence," the officer said. "A video isn't enough to issue a warrant." I was on my own. I had 24 hours to save my mother. I knew I couldn't trust the police. The company clearly had connections, powerful connections. I had to find her myself. I remembered the anonymous source. They seemed to know what was going on. Maybe they could help me. I messaged them again. "They've taken my mother. I need your help." A few minutes later, I received a reply. "Meet me at the old warehouse on Elm Street. Midnight. Come alone." The old warehouse on Elm Street was a derelict building, abandoned years ago. It was a dangerous place, but I had no choice. I had to go. I grabbed my keys and headed out the door, my heart pounding in my chest. What awaited me at the warehouse? Was this a trap, or was it my only chance to save my mother? The neon city lights flashed over deserted streets. The warehouse loomed before me, a dark and ominous silhouette against the night sky. I parked my car a few blocks away and walked the rest of the way, trying to blend into the shadows. As I approached the entrance, I saw a figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman, her face obscured by a hooded sweatshirt. "Are you the one who contacted me?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. The woman nodded. "I know where they are holding your mother," she said, "but it's a trap. They're expecting you." "I don't care," I said. "I have to save her." The woman hesitated. "Okay," she said, "but you need to listen to me. We're going to do this my way." She explained her plan. It was risky, but it was the only chance we had. We spent The woman, who introduced herself as Anna, was a former employee of the company. She had been fired after she discovered evidence of illegal activities. She wanted revenge, and she was willing to help me save my mother. As midnight approached, we made our way to the building where my mother was being held. It was an old office tower located in the heart of the city. Anna had managed to get her hands on the building's security plans. She knew exactly where the cameras were located and how to avoid them. We slipped inside, moving silently through the empty corridors. The tension was palpable. Every creak and groan of the building sent shivers down my spine. It was a small, windowless office. The door was locked. Anna pulled out a lockpick and went to work. A few minutes later, the door clicked open. We burst into the room, ready for a fight. But the room was empty. My mother was gone. A note lay on the table. "Too slow," Anna cursed. "They must have moved her," she said. "We need to find her now." We split up, searching the building floor by floor, but it was no use. My mother was nowhere to be found. I felt a wave of despair wash over me. Had I failed her? Would I ever see her again? Then Anna called me. "Emma, I found something," she said, her voice urgent. "Come to the roof now." I raced to the roof, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached the top, I saw Anna standing near the edge. She was pointing at something in the distance. It was a helicopter, taking off from a nearby building. "They're taking her away," Anna said. "We have to stop them." I looked at Anna, my eyes filled with desperation. "How?" I asked. "I have a plan," she said, "but it's crazy." "What do you think Anna's plan is? Could you trust a former company employee? It involves stopping a helicopter, and how will Emma save her mother in time?" "Crazy how?" I asked, barely above a whisper, the wind whipping my hair around my face. Anna's eyes gleamed with a mixture of determination and desperation. "I used to work in the building's maintenance department. I know the emergency protocols. There's a device on this roof that can remotely disable the building's electrical systems, including the landing lights on that other rooftop. If we cut the power, they can't land, and they can't take off again." It sounded insane, incredibly dangerous, but what choice did I have? My mother's life was on the line. "Do it," I said, my voice firm despite the tremor in my hands. Anna moved quickly, accessing a panel hidden beneath a metal grate. She punched in a code, her fingers flying across the keypad. A warning siren blared across the rooftop, echoing through the city. "It's done," she said, her voice tight with adrenaline. "Now we wait." We watched, our breath held, as the helicopter circled the other building. It began its descent, hovering above the rooftop. But then the landing lights flickered and died. The helicopter lurched, its pilot struggling to maintain control. It wobbled precariously before aborting the landing and veering away into the night sky. "It worked," I exclaimed, relief flooding through me, but the relief was short-lived. A moment later, a message popped up on my phone. It was another video. This time, it showed my mother strapped to a chair, a gag over her mouth. The men in suits were standing behind her, their faces grim.